have a clean sheet of paper in front of me, and the first thing I do is make a light sketch. This is the basic frame of the character, a set of lines that will help me correctly place the figure on the sheet. I draw a central vertical line to mark the axis of symmetry. I add horizontal lines for the eye and mouth level. I outline the oval of the head, then the central line of the spine, and also sketch out the lines of the arms and legs. At this stage, the figure looks like a mannequin, but this is important for the correct placement of body parts. I evaluate the composition. The character is standing on the stairs, and I want to preserve the dynamics of his pose, clarifying the shape and pose. Now I begin to draw the details based on the frame lines. I define the contours of the clothes. The character has a slightly flared skirt, a button jacket, and a small hat. I draw the position of the hands. One is raised, slightly adjusting the hat. The other rests on the side. I add the curves of the body, clarify the lines of the legs, arms, neck. The lines are kept light and easy to erase and fix if something looks wrong. At this point, the character is getting a recognizable shape, but there's still a lot of work to do. Adding details to the face and clothes. Now it's time to make the sketch more alive. I draw the eyes, nose, and mouth. The facial expression is slightly sly, as if the character has just come up with something interesting. Hair. I add a few strands to create volume. I refine the details of the clothes. I draw the buttons, folds on the skirt, and accentuate the hat. I refine the stairs in the background, adding a window to balance the composition. Finishing touches. The sketch is almost done, but I make a few final steps. I go over the main lines, slightly strengthening them so that they are clearer. I use the eraser to remove unnecessary auxiliary lines. I add light hatching to the clothes, hair, and some parts of the stairs. Now the sketch is complete. We have a dynamic, expressive character. Preparing the canvas and choosing a color palette. Before I started applying the paint, I prepared the base. The surface was primed so that the acrylic would lay flat and not be absorbed too quickly. I chose a paper with a thick texture as a base so that the brush strokes would remain expressive. The work began with creating the background. Using a medium brush, I applied a deep blue color, diluting it with water to create smooth transitions. I wanted to convey the feeling of a light breeze and daylight, so I added a little white, creating soft tones at the edges. Once the background was dry, it was time for the character. For the base of the skin, I used white, applying it in an even layer. This step allowed me to create a base for the subsequent application of details and shades. Step 3. Orange hair skirt. Orange became the key accent of the image. I took a thin brush and painted the hair, making it slightly disheveled, adding liveliness. Then, with a medium brush, I applied the color to the skirt, making it more saturated. To create volume, I added some red and brown along the edges. Using a medium brush, I drew the sweater, giving it softness, but at the same time, contrasting with the warm orange. Green added freshness, and thin lines on the folds of the fabric made the drawing more natural. To highlight the character and emphasize the details, I took a thin brush and began to outline the contours with black. This stage gave clarity to the lines and made the image more graphic. I paid special attention to the eyes, face, and clothes to highlight their expressiveness. The window in the background was first drawn in brown, and then dark lines were added for depth. It creates a sense of space and adds perspective to the picture. The hat became another accent. I used a mixture of black, red, and orange to create texture. To show the curves of the material, I applied small light highlights. Black contours make the image graphic, emphasizing the shapes and simplifying perception. The acrylic paints are applied thickly, with clear boundaries between the colors. Brushstrokes are visible, which adds texture to the image. The contour lines are clear, but sometimes uneven, which may be due to the use of different brush thicknesses. Details, such as the patterns on the skirt and the stairs, are simplified, but add character to the painting. The character has a distinct personality. He stands in a confident pose, lifting his hat, which creates a sense of lightness and greeting. The eyes and facial expression emphasize the liveliness of the image. However, the anatomical proportions of the figure are somewhat distorted. The legs are too elongated, the arms are angular, which gives the painting a stylized, cartoonish character. Summary. The painting is distinguished by a bold use of color, a dynamic composition, and an expressive image of the character. It attracts attention with its energy and emotion. However, the elaboration of the anatomy of the figure and the detailing of the background can be improved for greater realism. Overall, the work conveys a bright, playful atmosphere and demonstrates a confident mastery of acrylic paints. I drew the eyes with yellow, creating a bright contrast with the rest of the palette. This step brought the character to life, made his look mysterious and expressive. At this stage, I added details, buttons, decorations, patterns on clothes. A thin brush helped to work out each detail, adding individuality to the character. The last element was the staircase, painted in black paint with white highlights. It added completeness and perspective to the composition. Working on this picture was a real creative process for me. I tried to convey the character of the character, his liveliness and energy. Using acrylic paints allowed me to achieve brightness and saturation of colors, and working with brushes of different thicknesses helped to convey both large shapes and the smallest details. I hope the viewer will feel the atmosphere that I put into this drawing. The painting, made with acrylic paints, is a bright and dynamic image of a character located on a ladder against the background of a window and blue sky. Let's consider it from the point of view of composition, color scheme, technique, and expressiveness of images. The composition is built around the central figure of the character, who occupies the main part of the canvas. Behind him is a window, creating depth of space. The stairs at the bottom add diagonal lines, enlivening the structure of the scene and creating dynamics. This solution leads the viewer's gaze from the bottom up, from the stairs to the character and further, to the sky outside the window. However, due to the dense filling of the space, the details can overload perception. The colors of the painting are saturated and contrasting. The dominant blue background creates a feeling of open space. The character stands out with white skin and bright clothes. An orange skirt and a green blouse form a harmonious combination. The red hat and orange hair draw attention to the face. Black contours make the image graphic, emphasizing the shapes and simplifying perception. The acrylic paints are applied thickly with clear boundaries between the colors. Brush strokes are visible, which adds texture to the image. The contour lines are clear but sometimes uneven, which may be due to the use of different brush thicknesses. Details, such as the patterns on the skirt and the stairs, are simplified, but add character to the painting. The character has a distinct personality. He stands in a confident pose, lifting his hat, which creates a sense of lightness and greeting. The eyes and facial expression emphasize the liveliness of the image. However, the anatomical proportions of the figure are somewhat distorted. The legs are too elongated, the arms are angular, which gives the painting a stylized, cartoonish character. Summary. The painting is distinguished by a bold use of color, a dynamic composition, and an expressive image of the character. It attracts attention with its energy and emotion. However, the elaboration of the anatomy of the figure and the detailing of the background can be improved for greater realism. Overall, the work conveys a bright, playful atmosphere and demonstrates a confident mastery of acrylic paints.